Another good news for all of you freedom fighters, all of you who've been fighting for democracy, sovereignty and accountability in the political establishment. There has been a purge. A purge has started in the Whitehall establishment. Yes, the British civil service is being massively cut down by the government. Interestingly timed. Yes, we're getting close to the election, so all the good news is coming out now. We're gonna get good news on a daily basis from the government. We're gonna have Rishi Sunak and government ministers announcing victories and good policies. They are suddenly gonna become conservative, and they want you to believe it. But I don't care why they're doing it. Some of the stuff that they're doing, it has to happen anyway. So if they're gonna lie about it, but they're still doing it, so I'm fine with that. But don't be fooled by some sort of manifesto plan of we're going to bring down taxation or something like that. But things that they're doing now, it's good to celebrate. So what's happening? A massive purge in the civil service. Around 20% of civil servants have been sacked, especially in one specific department. There's one government minister I want to praise in this video. There's been a clash between Downing Street and Whitehall for a long time. We've had prime ministers and ministers coming out in recent years saying, yes, we need to shake up the establishment, we need to drain the swamp of the establishment, we need to cut it down, and they didn't really do it. In fact, the size of the state has been completely increasing every year. But now, and especially with people like Simon Case, who's the head of civil service, by the way, let's not forget, Simon Case is the only person who has been around all these recent crises and scandals. He's still in place. Everybody resigned. Everybody got fined. Everybody was investigated. Somehow Simon Case is still the head of civil service. Fascinating, right? But this guy has been completely useless anyway. At the same time, the government, because it's a political party, clashing with the civil servants themselves, there's a bit of a victory here because we have Steve Barclay, who's the health secretary, which, by the way, he's such a, I don't know, it's so quiet that sometimes we forget that he's actually the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, these days, considering the loud government ministers are getting into trouble, maybe it's a good thing that he's just keeping his head down. Now, the NHS is not in a good state, but it's not completely his fault. He's, just recently become Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. But he's the one that we are going to praise in this video because he single-handedly in his department, which is one of the biggest departments we have, health, he's been cutting down 1 in 6 civil servants have been sacked. Around that's getting close to 20%, and this is good news. We actually have Steve Barclay's a spokesperson from the department coming out to say that Steve has always been interested in cutting bureaucracy and getting the taxpayer value for money. This goes right back to when he was a member of the Public Accounts Committee after first being elected to Parliament, and his time as Chief Secretary to the Treasury. In just a few months as Health Secretary, he's been able to significantly reduce the number of civil servants in the Whitehall department while making sure that more money is going to the front line, be that more money for the doctors and nurses or latest technology, all of which is aimed at cutting waiting lists and getting people better treatment more quickly and blah, 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 usual political statements. For those of you familiar with the TV show sitcom Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister, you could tell how hard it is for any well-meaning politician to clash with civil servants, because when we say the deep state, the British deep state is essentially the bureaucracy that we have and the faceless bureaucrats in Whitehall, and those are the ones who are quietly running the narrative, and they are the ones who are quietly becoming obstacles for every type of reform or good changes that you want to make as a politician. They were the people who brought down Liz Truss as Prime Minister, and they will continue to control power until we cut it down. And we have to start now. Anyway, there was a spending review, by the way, that it said a 26% reduction was agreed from a peak of 4,950 full-time staff at the end of the previous financial year in March 2022 to 3,650 by March 2025. Now, Steve Barclay, under him, the department has actually reached the target of 3,650 staff 21 months earlier than agreed in the review settlement. So this could be a good lesson to all the other idiotic government ministers who are controlling the other divisions to learn from Steve Barclay. Just do it. Cut it down. I don't care what they're going to say. If they're going to cry, if they're going to call you a bully, cut it down. Most of it is a bit of a waste. Bureaucracy has gone too far. Red tape's going too far. We have to give power back to the people rather than to the establishment. At the department, obviously the Department for Health and Social Care, we have a lot of people who are kicking off, but a spokesperson actually came and defended the whole thing, saying, well, the Secretary of State has been working with the department to successfully reduce the costs and make sure that more money can be directed to frontline services. But it seems like such a flatline statement. And like, well, we're going to have to say just now publicly. It's brilliant. You got civil servants who are getting sacked, writing statements about civil servants getting sacked. This is the whole issue with the system. The whole thing is controlled by them. Even if they have to give us good news or bad news, it still has to be them. So when we think that we are electing members of parliament and then they become government ministers or prime ministers, it doesn't really matter if you change the electoral system. It doesn't really matter if you get a better political party. The fundamental problem of the system doesn't change. Unless you change the structure of the system, nothing will change. It doesn't matter if Nigel Farage is prime minister. It doesn't matter if Reform UK is the majority party in parliament. Of course, there will be some good changes, but the fundamental won't change unless we change the whole of the system. And again, maybe that's the whole point. You elect a party to actually lead that movement. But my point is, if those parties or a good leader just gets into power and tries to play within the system, you can't do anything. Nothing will get done. Perfect example, Liz Truss. She failed. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.